A few words before that on the functions of slow wave sleep. We know that slow wave sleep has metabolic effects, but it plays a role in metabolic effects. It plays a role in hormonal release. It plays a role um, in the metabolism of glucose, for example. It also plays a role, an indirect role, in weight regulation, etc. But what really matters to this point is that it also plays a role uh, in cognitive function. That is, um, slow wave, slow waves as such are an indirect reflection of hippocampal of neural circuits going from the hippocampus, very much involved in memory acquisition, and the neocortex, which is a structure of the cortex that is very much involved in memory consolidation. So our short-term memory is transferred during sleep, particularly during slow wave sleep, from the hippocampus into the neocortex, and the reflection of that are the slow waves, which means in other ways, in other words, in the absence of slow wave sleep, our storage of memory is going to be worse. It's going to be impaired. And if the storage of memory content is being impaired, also our capacity to retrieve memory contents is going to be impaired during the day. Basically, what's going to happen is that in the absence of sufficient slow wave sleep, our cognitive function is likely going to worsen. So that leads us to the following opportunity. If we improve slow wave sleep, does it mean that if we were able to improve that slow wave sleep, does it mean that could that mean that we would be able to improve cognitive function in patients? Well, we have been looking at that, and it's an assumption that that process could be made backwards. I mean, could be changed the other way around. So from an impaired slow wave sleep function, we could go back into an improved cognitive function in some patients. There are several ways to improve slow wave sleep. Um, in general, substances that, uh, for example, substances that increase adenosine are substances that increase also slow wave sleep. Also, substances that are able to to reduce glutamate are also substances that should be able to improve slow wave sleep, and so it is. And so it is. What remains to be seen is whether that ultimately leads to an overall improvement of cognitive function. Uh, so, for example, substances that improve glutamatergic function are the gabapentinoids. We just talked about them. These substances increase slow wave sleep. Yes, that's well known. That's very well known. Do gabapentinoids improve memory? A few minutes ago, we were talking about dementia. And this is really what remains to be seen, because it could be that over the short term, this increase in slow wave sleep might effectively lead to an improvement of cognitive function in those patients where cognitive function was impaired because of slow wave sleep. However, over the long term, Whether the benefits of that are maintained over the long term, that remains to be seen. That's very speculative at this point. The same thing can be said about adenosinergic drugs, but there are other substances that can be used for example, a very frequently used substance in this field is a sodium oxybate. Sodium oxybate is it's very frequently being used as an anesthetic, but in the field of sleep medicine, it's being used in narcolepsy, for narcolepsy. It's a drug that reduces cataplexy, and it's a drug that also improves daytime wakefulness. It, it reduces daytime sleepiness. So this drug increases slow sleep heavily, very pronouncedly, and to some extent it also improves cognitive function. But basically what I'm trying to say here is there is an entire field for which we have very, very little data. Studies so far have never been um, the number of patients has never aimed to that endpoint. They have never been manned in terms of number of patients to answer that question. What was tried until recently was just to see whether slow sleep increased or not. But what we do not know is whether that effectively leads to an improvement of cognitive function. This is one of the fields of the future, not only in sleep medicine, but also in geriatric medicine and in the field of dementia, etc.